economy class just got more basic. Some good advice for you wannabe pilots and a $30,000 helicopter. Coming up in a few moments' time, we'll be getting some of the best advice you can receive for getting into flying, so that'll be very helpful if you aren't flying already.
But we will start with some news this week, and I've heard that there's an aircraft that can fly at 105 knots for 5 hours with absolutely zero carbon dioxide emissions.
Paper plane?
Well, it does sound a bit strange, but the Antares DLR H2 is being tested in Germany at the moment, and it runs on fuel cells. So they've tested it, and it seems to be working well, but the slight drawback is that it's 66 feet wide and it's got this huge propeller on the top, so you might have a little bit of trouble finding hangar space for it for any reasonable cost. So it sort of offsets the whole carbon dioxide emissions.
It's one of those classics where you turn up at the airfield and people look at you, but it's not for the right reason, is it?
Doing your pre-flight checks takes half a kilometre each way. It takes about 5 minutes just to walk to the end of the wing. How do you feel about sharing the air with unmanned aircraft? That's the hope of US firm Rockwell Collins. They currently have pilots flying their unmanned aircraft, but soon all they want to do is make sure that they can fly it by themselves with complete automation and nobody behind the controls.
I'm sorry, did you say they have pilots flying unmanned aircraft? Isn't that a bit...
The idea is, I think, is that they want to get rid of the pilots altogether.
Absolutely, they want to, probably another cost-saving measure of some description, but the pilot's currently on the ground looking after the aircraft, and they want to be completely computer controlled.
I do hope these computers can tell the difference between red and green lights, because as a colourblind person, of course, then that's absolutely essential. That any pilot of any sort, computer or not.
I hope they get Class 2 medical.
Yes, exactly that as well. NASA are coming up with a new system to try and find out whether they are going to get really severe turbulence over the oceans, the Atlantic and Pacific, of course, and obviously that's quite prominent in the news at the moment. They're doing a whole load of testing for using artificial intelligence to work out what's going on the ground, and also satellite data too, but they're also going to be doing some in-flight testing, so if you fancy going for a flight where you'll need a very strong stomach, make sure you apply to NASA, care of Boulder, Colorado.
Another website has embedded full flap TV, and that's Blue Sky Gear, and it's a company run by Robert Findell, which is a mix of e-commerce and a pilot community.
And I've heard, I'm very excited about this, that it's never been easier to set up your own private air force. So, you know, if you want to get up there and bomb some people, it's actually really easy now and doesn't cost you millions. What they've done is they've got a modified crop duster, the air truck, and they've, it'll do anything on a budget. You can attach guns to it, and you can go and take over a country, become your own despot. And it's like if you want to go off a far-flung place and take it over, you can. It's affordable.
It's very depressing to think that a lot of people, once they've achieved their pilot's license, then go and give it up. Well, why? Because there's so many pilots out there still enjoying themselves. What was it that the people that gave up missed? Well, let's see if we can find out some of the ways, some of the tips, some of the techniques for keeping you up there in the skies now with my panel once again. And let's go straight over to Sebastian Pooley once again. Sebastian, what is the secret? How do you keep going? Why do some people give up?
I have absolutely no idea why people give up. Why would they want to do a thing like that? I think the secret is to keep inspiring yourself, and I think, and it's not a difficult thing to do. Let's face it. There are so many things that that you can get on with, and when you're out there. To be honest, if there was one thing, it's confidence. And so, from my point of view, I would, I want to keep going flying on a regular basis, so that my level of skill is, remains the same. And that way, yeah, I'm confident. I want to go flying. I want to go visit other airfields. I want to go across the Channel. I want to go across Europe. Whatever it is, that's it.
So why do you think it runs out? Why do people sort of go, I'm done now?
Hey, that's a difficult question to ask. For some people, it's unmissable. They have a family. Families are expensive. It can be a cost. But as we've talked about, in previous interviews, you can go into other areas of aviation. It doesn't have to be, fixed wing. It could be microlights, which are a much more affordable way of flying, and you can have just as much fun. So there is no.
So is it that perhaps that people aren't seeing the options, that we're not explaining it well enough, maybe?
I think that's probably exactly what it is. I think people need to know what they can do, what they can achieve, and the best place of that is to go down to your local airfield and say, look, what are my options? What can I do here? And you'll get a good response.
Okay, you've been around aviators, many aviators, for many years. Those pilots who really seem to be living the aviation dream, what are they doing?
They're living the dream. I think with us, we try to encourage people as much as possible to keep flying. I think it's easy if you leave it for a time period to leave it a bit longer, and then it just extends and you don't find up flying for 6 months or so. We try to do schemes where we get people going on club flyouts together and getting together through a flying buddy scheme and sharing the costs and things. So there are lots of options out there to do it. It's just encouraging everyone to get it.
Presumably you also have a degree of people that turn up, learn to fly, and just don't turn up again. I mean, do they ever turn up again?
The majority of people do. I think, like I said before, it is the case. You leave it for a bit. Sebastian said people have families. They not get in the way, but you know, they're
get rid of the wife, get rid of the children, the medical research again.
Exactly. So that does, you know, people don't fly for a time, and then it becomes something that perhaps they don't have the initial thrill of getting back from the aircraft and having really enjoyed themselves.
But what about those people that just seem to be here every weekend? What is it about their mentality that keeps them going, do you think?
We do have quite a few members like that. I mean, most people will keep within 2 or 3 weeks and keep going up. To be honest, the majority of them tend to get very involved in the club side of things, very enthusiastic about going up with other people. So socially, you know, getting the social side of things up and running does make a huge difference.
Getting to know the people.
Yeah.
What about your thoughts on this one? What do you need to do to keep flying, to keep inspired?
I think it's important to go flying with other people, and one way to share it, I think we've already talked about, is sharing the cost. So if you make friends at the flying club, which you're bound to do when you learn to fly, keep in touch, and you can share the cost by taking turns in flying every month, every few weeks and so on, rather than leave it for a period and then have to get recurrent again. So I think that's the practical way of doing it, but maybe when you've gone through a period of not flying, I think it's key to think about what inspired you to fly in the first place. Go to see an air show, see a great aerobatics team like the Blades perform, something like that.
This is the plug-a-thon, by the way.
Yeah, but personally, I've kept motivated. I guess there are 2 reasons. A, I love flying, and I love flying small aeroplanes, and